What's your name and how long have you been working in this field?
So my name's Justun Dula, and I've been in the fire service for about 4.5, 5 years now. I started right as I came out of high school, and ever since that I've kind of just evolved into further pursuing the service.
My name's Brian Piercy, and I've been in the fire service for 35 years.
I'm Ishman Martino, and I've been a firefighter for going on a year. This past October was right at a year for me. So I'm still a rookie. Don't know my left from my right, but I sure do try.
My name's Davidson, and I actually started in emergency services at 15 as a junior member with the local rescue squad.
Why did you choose to work in this industry?
Well, right out of high school, I joined the military. I think I was 19, joined the Army. So it kind of started out as some kind of help for the people, for the United States, for the world. It's kind of what the direction I've always walked in was helping others. Then I got out of the Army, took a 2-year break of just everything, and then I started volunteering actually for a small fire department called Glen Alpine out of Morganton. Worked there for probably about a month, and then as that month went by, I just thought of what it would be like to be a paid professional firefighter. And I thought about how resourceful it is, thought about the resources that I could have to fulfill my desire of helping. And I mean, I have all the resources in the world to do that, and I found that through the fire department, through the fire service. But I guess it's just your basic answer of wanting to help others with just a lot more behind that answer than what I can really put out. But that's my passion, and that's the way I do it. You know, people can help people in many different ways and forms. It's just figuring out the way you enjoy doing that, and this is how I enjoy doing that.
My father was in emergency services before I was born, and I just grew up kind of around it, meeting people that my mom and dad grew up with that were doing it now, and I was like, that looks pretty fun. The adrenaline of it was kind of catchy, and it ended up being my backup plan in high school that kind of rolled.
So initially I had zero plans on doing this at all. I always thought of it, why would I want to make someone else's problem my problem? But I had a situation with my family. I moved to McDowell County, went to McDowell High School my 11th and 12th grade years, and I was put into a fire and EMS course and CTE side of things at the high school. And I didn't really want to do it, but I was just put into it, so all I had to do was get through it and get past it and just be done with it. Well, as I got into it, I started to develop an interest and a passion to continue to learn. A lot of the things in the fire side was things I was really interested in, well versed with. So as I continued, I got better and better at it. I started volunteering here at Pleasant Gardens Fire Department, and once I ran my first couple emergency calls, the adrenaline side of it really got to me, and I started to really enjoy it. And then being able to continue to further my knowledge and skill set to assist others in situations really continued to push me to become better at what I'm doing.
Well, I started as a volunteer, and that's what I still do. I also work in the field, but my dad spent 50 years as a volunteer in Old Fort Fire Department, and that's actually where I started volunteering, was Old Fort in 1988. And I left there in 2010 and moved to PG and started volunteering here at PG Fire Department, where I now serve as captain training officer. And but I served as lieutenant and captain at Old Fort for several years. My dad was a big part of me getting in the fire service. I have two brothers and a son that's volunteers and in the fire departments. My brother Travis, who works here at PG, him and my brother Josh volunteered at Old Fort. My son Zach volunteers here at PG, and it's just been a kind of a family affair. But my heart for serving others and serving the community has been the big driving backbone of being in the fire service.
What's daily life like for you?
For me right now, daily life, with the fire service included, is, I wake up, just typical. I work nights as a detention officer for the sheriff's department locally, so with me working nights, a lot of times I sleep during the day. So my time spent here at PG as a volunteer is often on nights that I'm off. Every once in a while I'll try to catch something during the daytime.
My daily life, I'm a single parent, but my son, he's married, so it's just me. So I work a lot of extra when I'm off at Crooked Creek, but I try to spend as much time here at PG on my days off as I can, running calls and but I'm just an average person. I have served in the past on the McDowell County Board of Education for 14 years, and so I'm done with that. I've been done with that for about a year now, and I miss it, but I go pick up my youngest nephew at school on my days off for my youngest brother to help him and his wife out a little bit. So I enjoy spending time with my nephew too, all my nephews.
What do you want to say to future generations wanting to do what you do?
So younger kids and other people coming into the service, find your passion and ensure that it's something that you want to do. Because if you're getting into it just for the name, or you're getting into it just to say that you're part of the fire department, I don't believe that that's the best way to go about doing it, because you're going to come across things that are gruesome. You're going to come across things that will affect you mentally. And if you have a passion for it, you'll continue to want to do it, even though you do experience bad things. Because there's a bunch of pros, there's a bunch of cons to it. You get tied up in a lot of things. It takes time away from your family. So you just got to ensure that it's something you want to do, and then ensure that you find your purpose behind why you're doing it.
I guess it would be like, there's certain like kids I've met that I really feel like they could do a good job within the service and really be a huge asset. And then there's some that I don't believe to be, a fireman. So I guess it's kind of person dependent. But I tell all of them, it's like, hey, if you want to do it, of course do it. But it's definitely not for everybody. This job is not for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart. But there's lots of pros and there's lots of cons, and that's with any job. But with my job, there's a lot more pros than cons. So I'm always a huge advocate for that. It gives you a sense of purpose, belonging, camaraderie. You get all these things from that. And that's the things I talk about with the younger generations. Like, it's very rare that I'm going to talk about, the truth of the job and how hard it really is to younger kids that are wanting to join the fire service. It's mainly just going to be positive feedback and positive information. And I guess if this is a more mature, older person wanting to come into the fire service, I'm going to be like, hey man, these are some of the things you're going to see. These are some of the things you're going to deal with. This is how it's going to be at home. I'm very transparent with this job, and when people ask questions, but like I said, it's very person dependent with how that conversation goes. But I like to be very straightforward with the older generation that may be thinking about getting into the service later on in their years. So yeah.
Well, that's been a big thing. I recently, as president of the County Fire Association, we got a grant from the state to help with recruitment and retention. because right now volunteers, especially, not only across the state of North Carolina but across the country, has really declined, and hard to get volunteers. And I don't know with the younger generation. We've been trying to work again all across the country, trying to find ways that we can help improve and recruit and retain members. In today's time, it's hard. I mean, I know with people raising families, work, then the amount of hours that the state requires for training and such, it's hard. But I would encourage the younger generation, future generations to look at giving back to your community, and that's what this is about: serving and helping, being able to help others. There's plenty to do in the fire service for everyone. Even if you might not be able to actually fight fire. I told a young lady here a while back, there's plenty other things to do on the scene, just because you might not be able to go inside of a house or feel comfortable going inside, of a burning building. But in the fire service, there's so many other things that you can do on the scene to help out. And so I just encourage folks to, give it a try. Come out and volunteer, talk to your local department, and let them, ask them, they'll let you come out and watch a training night or something, just to kind of see if you're interested, and let you try on equipment and that kind of stuff. So it's very rewarding, and that's what I try to tell the younger. Yeah, you're volunteer. It's for it's free, but there's also a career side of it too, that you can make a good career out of. So, but I would encourage folks to get out there and try to volunteer first to see what you think about it.
What would you say to future generations wanting to do what you do?
What would I say to future generations that are wanting to do this? Be eager, but don't be too eager. There's a time to keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and there's a time to go and hit everything head first. It's going to have its ups and its downs, and you're going to see things that aren't normal. But if you put your time into it, this will be one of the best things you ever do in your life.
What's the hardest call that you've ever been on?
Boy, I was wondering if you were going to ask that. The hardest call I've been on, actually, I've got two, if that's all right.
Of course.
I guess one technically isn't a call, but to me it is. And the other one happened while I was working. I used to work full-time for Swannanoa Fire Rescue, and now I work part-time for them in Buncombe County. About not even 2 months into being full-time, I ended up being a part of a body recovery for a subject who had been deceased for several months in a dilapidated trailer. It sticks with me to this day. What I seen that night in the pitch black was not normal. Most humans don't see the skeletal remains of somebody that's been dead that long, or the smell. And I promise you, doing it in the pitch black dark is a lot harder than it would be in the day. It's almost like nightmare fuel. But luckily I had a good support team and everybody from work, and they were to help me move through that. But I would say that's been the hardest affecting one to me. The second of those, my stepmother also passed away. She passed away in 2020. At home, she woke up and was screaming and ended up going into cardiac arrest, and I began the CPR process and life-saving measures on my own while having to control a stressed out father and a sister and grandfather that were all in the house while still a high school senior. And I did everything I could. And she made it to the hospital. They say it's because of me. I'll never believe it. But she ended up passing away about a week and a half later. And that one I'd say affects me. I'll be honest, there's a third that I didn't even go on call-wise, but it affects me because the gentleman's my friend. You interviewed him. My friend Justun, right after we completed our firefighter certification, was involved in a Mayday situation where he very well could have died. And it just affects me because of how good friends we've been over the years.
So there's two calls that really stand out to me. And the most recent was I was working EMS, and there was a NVC, two-car NVC head-on type collision on 70 East in McDowell County. It was a guy that was recklessly driving, going way above the posted speed limit, and he hit a family of 4, I believe, head-on. And whenever they hit, there's 2 people in the vehicle that were not wearing seat belts. And whenever they hit, they were thrown around the car. One of them was a younger girl. Whenever I arrived on scene, police officers have already removed her and the other person from the vehicle. And she was laying on the yellow line on the middle of the road. And when I got to her, she was in really rough condition, really rough shape. She wasn't breathing. She presented herself in a very traumatic way. I felt of her body, felt for pulses. She did not have a pulse. Police officers were doing CPR on her. Her upper body and her upper torso just felt like mush. As I felt through here, it was just soft. There's no real structure to it. And as we continued to assess the scene and size it up, we determined that she was beyond help. And being a newer person to EMS, having to document time on a younger lady like that really bothered me, especially with me having a younger sister. At first, it didn't get to me at the moment, but as time goes on, I become very numb to it while I'm on scene, so it doesn't really affect me then. But as I got home the next day, got to see my little sister and spend time with her, it started to affect me that that family no longer has that with that particular kid. And like I said, having to document time and determining that someone's beyond help, of someone like is that age, it really bothered me. And as time continued on, I really started to question myself whether I did what I needed to do and question if I did enough. Because it's really sad to see other people, especially that age that hasn't had the chance to live life, lose their life due to someone else's poor decisions. So that NVC really got to me for a while. And then having the ability to talk to people around the station, around my workplace, really helped me, but I don't really have the opportunity to talk to my family about stuff like that because none of them are in the fire service and none of them have the ability to really comprehend the things that you are dealing with. And the second incident that I remember most is when I had just turned 18. So 18 is the age of when you're allowed to be released to go fight actual fires and go inside of the fires to help extinguish them. And while I was responding to a call in Old Fort, it was deemed a working structure fire, meaning that there is an active fire in a residence. Me and my partner that was with me at the time got there, put all of our gear on, and began to ask the operational side of command what needs to be done and where do they want us to go to start extinguishing the fire. And with me being 18, I was gung-ho about it. I'm like, this is my time to shine. This is what I've been waiting to do for a long time now. And I was go. I was driven to just go put the fire out, and that's all I thought about. But with fire, there's so many moving aspects of it, of things you've got to be cautious about. You've got to think in your head of how much you want to risk versus how much you're going to save by risking what you're going to risk. And it's called a risk versus reward. You're not going to risk a little bit to save nothing, or you're not going to risk a lot to save nothing. But if you're going to risk your life to do something, there needs to be a reward of saving someone's life or pulling them out of a fire, saving their house and stuff like that. And firefighting is inherently dangerous, but the situation I was faced with was I was going to the front of the building to start putting fire out. I saw propane tanks in the building starting to vent. And while I was making my way into the residence, my partner's regulator on his air cylinder blew out, so I could hear a bunch of air escaping from his tank. And the tanks that we wear have oxygen in them so we can breathe the air, so we're not breathing in smoke. So we backed away. I told him to go get a new pack because he didn't need to be using that one that was already faulty in case something was to go wrong. As he walked away to get another pack, I had come out of the structure to spray inside the structure because you're not supposed to go in by yourself. You always want to have somebody with you. And when I had backed out and my partner had walked away, I turned around to see where he was going. And as I did, the wall kicked out and it collapsed down on me and I was pinned. And the position that I was pinned in, I wasn't able to yell on the radio that I was in a mayday situation. I wasn't able to do anything. I was pinned. The wall was extremely heavy. And as I was trapped, I tried my best to get out of the situation, tried to get myself unstuck, unpinned. The wall was still on fire, so as I was squirming, trying to get out of it, I started to feel the heat on my legs and all around my body from where the wall was on fire, and there's nothing that I could do about it. And during all of that, of sheer panic, I started to have all these thoughts run through my head that my sister is going to grow up without a brother. My parents are going to lose their only son. And the moment that set in, I had accepted my fate of what was going to happen. And during that, I really did get very emotional that I'm not going to make it out of this. And the guy that I was with saw what happened. He and another guy ran over to me to see if they could get me out of it. And the wall, the way that it had fallen, it didn't break apart, so it was just all one big piece. And they tried to pick it up, and they couldn't budge it. And one of them got under there and stuck his head in as far as he could and said he's going to be with me through it all, and he's not going to leave my side, which was comforting, but I was still panicking. And once I had that sense of calmness and comfort just take over, when I accepted everything that was going to happen, I just started to slow my breathing down and just let other people outside that wasn't stuck just do their work, because there was nothing I could do. And as I slowed down and as I started to really think, the gung-ho and cockiness went away immediately, because I wasn't aware of how fast things could go wrong. And with me being as young as I was and having the amount of skill set that I had, nothing was going to be able to get me out of that situation other than relying on somebody else. And that's a big thing, is being in the fire service, you have to trust other people to have your back. Because if it wasn't for all the other people that had a hand in getting me out, I would have never got out of it. So once they got enough people there to try to lift the wall up off of me, they had picked it up enough that I could feel the pressure relieve off the wall, but they sat it right back down because it was too heavy. And as we continued to lay there, I began to squirm a bit. I squirm a lot, try to get myself out of it, but I wasn't able to. And then once they sat it back down on me, I'm like, I'm really stuck. There's nothing that I can do to get out of this. And they sat it back down on me. The guy got back under there, said, I'm going to get you out, buddy. I love you. And I was panicking a lot. And obviously, being able to stay calm is a big thing, but whenever you're not able to get out of a situation, it's really hard to stay calm. And they finally got enough people to lift the wall up off of me to drag me out. And once they drugged me out, they obviously drugged me away from the fire, cut all of my gear off of me, did a rapid trauma assessment to ensure that there was nothing seriously broken or anything that had punctured me and gone through me. And once they had got me out, I was evaluated and transported to the hospital. Thankfully, whenever I got there, I had no serious broken bones. My helmet that I had was crushed. If I didn't have all of my equipment on properly, I would have probably died in that situation. But I had the appropriate gear on. My helmet on the side was cracked all the way down. The paint was melted off of it. The hose line that I was on, the nozzle was melted off. My gear had some really good burn spots in it. But the biggest thing that I learned from that situation, being as young as I was, coming into the fire service, was one, that you can't be gung-ho. You've got to remain humble, because things will change in a hurry, and fire doesn't care who you are, doesn't care what color you are, it will kill you if you're not careful.
And who were those people that saved you?
So the ones that I know for sure that were there was Morgan Lewis, Travis Piercy, Hunter Slagle, Donnie Tipton, Garrett Presnell, and many more from other departments, but everything happened so quick, I wasn't able to see everybody that was there and involved with that.
And this was probably over the span of a minute, 2 minutes.
So I believe that there was a video that some bystanders had taken, and I believe it was 5-ish minutes, but I'm not 100% sure.
How long did it feel like for you?
Forever. It felt like I was under there trapped for a very long time.
You can see gory stuff all day, like bleeding, bones sticking out, people dead. But when it comes down to it, I think the hardest thing that I deal with personally is the amount of sad things I see. Even if it ain't death, it's just sad situations that people are put in, and sad things that I've paid too much attention to, which is a problem of my own that I deal with on calls. Is I tend to suck up more information than I should. So I think it's just a lot of sad things, like seeing kids that are homeless, watching a guy OD in front of his daughter, and he completely lost his brain, like he was OD for too long and lost all of his functions. That was a pretty hard one. There's a few calls that I've been on where things are just really, really wrong. It's like humans aren't supposed to be this way. Humans aren't supposed to fold this way. They're not supposed to bleed this way. And I think just that whole, it's like the whole thing. The whole thing is what makes it hard. Not just one particular call makes it really hard. It's like that whole thing of where this is wrong and this should not be this way, is what gets me. It's like, it's just a bad situation. But a call that I just recently had, a lady tried to commit suicide, and she jumped from the 4th story of an apartment building, and she survived, but you can imagine the damage that was done to her body. And I was the first one on scene, first one to lay hands on her. And it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. But yeah, that's probably sums it up. I've seen other stuff too, but that's just my most recent one that's fresh on the brain right now.
What's the hardest call you've been on?
January the 16th, 2001, I was at home. I was living with my parents, and I had been divorced about a year, and so I moved in with my parents, and I come in. My dad was sitting there. He said he wasn't feeling good, and he went to bed. My mom went to bed. I went to bed. My mom come in probably about an hour. I've been in the bed, and my dad went in cardiac arrest. And me and my youngest brother, we got him in the floor. I called on my radio and got EMS coming, and we started CPR on him, and we got him back, and he lived through all that, and then he died last year, but he had cancer. And that one, and then probably last April of 2022, I was working at Old Fort, and I had I heard someone outside, and I went to the door, and a guy had a 2-year-old in his arms, and he'd been backed over by accident. His mother backed over top of him in a car. She didn't see him. And the kid, I started CPR, started working with him, but he didn't make it. And I tell people, children are probably the hardest cause. I mean, I've seen lots of adults pass away for different things, and it not bother me as much. Now, I don't want people to take that wrong, that seeing somebody die doesn't bother me. It's just the fact of, you know, as an older person, we've lived our lives to a point, but here you have a 2-year-old, you know, that's just getting started in life, and the children bother me, and I've had a couple of children to die, but that one last year was probably that, because I still see in my face about every day, I see that child's face, and I live with it. Luckily, I have some good friends to talk to, and I talk about it with people, different ones, and you know, that's something that I tell our guys, we can't keep this stuff in. We have to talk to others, and so those are two of my toughest calls.
So you say it's not for everyone. What keeps you motivated?
That's a really good question. Well, I think it goes back to the question you asked me about, you know, like what got me into this job. And sometimes I have to simply like remind myself, it's like, why did you start this job? Why are you doing this job? And, you know, my answer is, of course, I want to help. I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference in, you know, the town I was born in. I want to make a difference in the people that surround me. Some days I lose sight of that. Some nights I'm 3 or 4 calls in, and I'm absolutely miserable, and I don't want to be doing this. I just remind myself, hey, why did we start this in the first place? We want to help. We're going to help, and we're going to do the best we can to help. That's what keeps me motivated, is just, I guess, you know, self-coaching and taking me back to the roots of why I'm even here. It's the basics, you know, just remind myself of those basic 3 things, and it gets me through it and keeps me on the right track of motivation and staying positive within my job, because that's big. Positivity is huge in this job, because if you're not positive and you're just a negative person, your truck's going to pay for it. And when I say your truck, I mean the people that you work with every day. You know, we have a group of 4, and that group of 4 is very tight-knit. And if you're coming in negative one day, it's going to rub off on your crew, and you don't want that. So just remaining positive no matter how bad things are at home or how tough it is at work is a huge asset, and it's a huge thing within the service. But I guess just, you know, the self-coaching and positivity are my 2 things that get me through it.
So what's a precaution that I can take as a civilian to help make your life easier?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Not burning food's a big one. Not burning food is huge, because people burn food a lot, and it takes up 3-4 trucks every time somebody burns some bacon. So not burning food's big. And instead of, you know, calling 911 every time you see a homeless person laying on the street, how about you just go up to that person and tap them kindly and just ask, hey, are you okay? because 99.9% of the time that person is sleeping. If you want to help, don't just call 911. Shake them, touch them gently. You ain't got to touch them. Just nudge them. Nudge them with your foot or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And just check on them. That's a big one because we get a lot of calls for that.
We go through fire safety in October with kids, but I don't think we spend enough time reaching out to the adults. It's just, right now, especially coming up on Thanksgiving, kitchen fires is one of the top fires, across the board. That's the worst time for kitchen fires. I'd encourage, just be cautious. Keep small kids away from the stove. I mean, I always enjoyed having my son in there in the kitchen with me cooking, but you still got to take those precautions as far as the hot stove and watch your electrical plug-ins and that kind of stuff you're not overloading that kind of stuff. And just, when you're out on the roads, be aware of your surroundings. I really don't know what else as far as cautions that the public, a lot of it's common sense. And it's just being cautious of, looking out for the other person. In today's time, we all get in a hurry, whether it be at home, whether it be out on the road, and, we got to get here, we got to get here. The things that we're doing, and I tell folks this in emergencies, like when we're driving to a call or something, don't add to the problem. That emergency or wherever you're going, it's going to be there when you get there. If you don't get there, then you're not helping nobody. And same way in everyday life, if you're going to Walmart or you're going to visit a family member, they're going to be there when you get there. But you can't enjoy that time with them if you don't make it there. So just take your time, slow down a little bit. I think we all need to slow down a little bit. And I know I hate to bring it up, but I think that's what COVID did for us, is it kind of slowed everybody down a little bit. And it was as bad as it was, but it was good. I know, like in my case, just spending time with family a little bit. So I think we need to slow down a little bit and just be more cautious.
Is there anything else you want to say to people?
Lord, if you're thinking about getting into this, despite all the things I've just said, don't let it stop you. This is one of the best things anybody can do in this world. And the sad truth is the volunteer fire service is dissipating day by day in this country. And we need people now more than ever. Because believe it or not, people don't realize how many stations are just volunteer or a combination department with minimal paid staffing during like weekdays. And so what people don't realize is 3 a.m. your house is burning or your child's laying on the floor choking. It's going to be these guys that had this little box sitting on their nightstand that went off, that got up, threw their clothes on, knowing good and well they've got to work the next morning or they've got a wife and kid at home. But they got up and came because they cared about you and they care about anybody else that needs them. So check out your local fire department and consider getting into this.
Just the fact that, come out and volunteer or give it a shot. So you don't never know. We're all in the, whether it be here at PG or, you may live in another district here in the county or in another state, but reach out to your local fire department and try to get some information, see if you might be interested in giving back to your community. That's the whole point of it, is being able to serve the people that you live around and being able just to give back to them and help them. I've been doing it for 35 years, and it's very satisfying and you know, just to be able to help others.
Hey, I thank you for your time, Brian.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time. Thank you.